What's up? This is the Nowhere to Go But Up podcast. I'm your host, Sean Dustin. Welcome back if you're returning. Welcome if this is your first show. This show is about bottoms and life struggles and how regular, average, everyday people get through them. And in between episodes like that, I talk about variety stuff and interests and interesting people that I've seen either on Instagram or that have reached out to me or I've gotten through some of the groups that I've belonged to on Facebook. This is going to be episode 9. And today I'm talking to Scott Shirai, an investigative reporter during the 1970s post-Watergate. He was also a DJ, a singer, and an author. So hopefully, you enjoy talking or listening to our conversation as much as I enjoyed participating in it. We talk about a few different topics. Whenever it comes to the truth being covered up, I definitely will go down a rabbit hole and get into my opinions and views of how I think things are being distorted. But hey, that's just me. So without further ado, let's get to Scott Shirai.
Hello.
Hey, Scott. How's it going? This is Sean Dustin.
Yeah, hi, Sean.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
All right. Well, I guess
How's the connection?
Yeah, it sounds all right. I don't see a problem with it.
Oh, okay, good.
Just a little bit of a delay, so we'll try not to trip over each other.
Okay. Before I forget, if you could let me know, send me the details in advance of when this airs. I can get this out on my social media as well and push the show.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. That's what this is all about. People helping people.
Yeah. Yeah. How did you get involved in this?
For myself, it was more of trying to figure out myself and some of the things that I've been through in my life in the past and just sort of, you know what I mean? Just as I got older and more mature, I started realizing that I'm in a pattern in life, and it wasn't a very it's never been a good one, but I mean it's subsided the older that I've gotten, and I guess I just got to a point where I feel like I've shed all of that stuff, and now I'm just trying to figure out how that came to be and how do I move forward. And the podcast has just sort of been more of a therapeutic thing for myself, I think. It helped me to,
cool. Good for you.
Yeah, process stuff and then help other people at the same time by hearing other people's stories. And it's just a movement. The podcast movement itself right now has just become very popular. And, some people are using it the right way. Some people are using it the wrong way. But it's helping society in a whole, I believe.
Oh, cool. You're in Richmond?
I am in Brentwood, California. My cell phone was bought in Richmond, California. I grew up in that part of the Bay Area.
So you're in the Bay Area?
Yeah. So
are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. Yeah, I'm in the Bay Area.
Oh, okay. I lived there in the Jerry Garcia hippie era.
Yeah, those are the fun days.
Oh, it was. That's another story. I worked for the largest limited partnership in California at the time that had 10 general partners. 4 of them had been with the Revolutionary Communist Party.
Okay. So from reading your email, why you contacted me is you were an investigative reporter for an NBC affiliate in Honolulu, and you were covering Watergate or trying to cover it, or what's the story?
No, this was post-Watergate, so there was a lot of interest by many of the TV, a lot of the media about doing more investigative reports. uncovering more dirt on politicians and business and the like. And at the same time, the FCC came down with a mandate to hire more minority people. So I happened to be working in radio at the time, and that's how I got recruited by, actually I got approached by both the NBC affiliate and the ABC affiliate.
Okay. And then what happened there? There was something that was that happened or is being covered up, or an issue that you had?
Well, at the time, because because it was popular to do investigative reports, and I was local. This was in Hawaii. I was born and raised there. The news director said, you probably have a lot of contacts, and I did. So he says, well, I want you to do a lot of stuff on the underworld. So I started doing a lot of reports on different criminal activities and the like. And initially, it was very well received at the station because they felt they were getting a lot of, stories out there about the underworld and what have you. But then when things started going south and I started getting subpoenaed to go into court to reveal the sources or face contempt of court, as well as fines and jail, and the station was facing fines as well, then the station behind the scenes said, you better obey the court order, and but although publicly they were saying, no, we support, freedom of the press, and we will protect the sources and this and that. So it's kind of very conflicting, as well as very sad and disturbing, because I was in a catch-22 situation.
This kind of behavior, though, really isn't uncommon, right?
No, it's not. I think you see this in the corporate world as well, where, a company will say, yeah, we care about consumers and this and that. And yet, when you look at different things that have occurred publicly, the actions seem to run counter to really what they were saying.
And we're seeing this quite a bit still now to this day. I mean, I've been saying this for a while now. I mean, with all the different spins on the different networks and everything else, you really need to be an investigative journalist to decipher the truth now, because you can't just get it from one source. You have to go to at least 7 or 8 different sources and sort of mine the truth out of it. And most people aren't going to do that. And that's how they've kind of...
that's very true. And the other challenge is that with the social media the way it is now, unlike when I started in the media in the 70s, over 40 years ago, there was no social media. So today, anybody that has access to the internet, can be a reporter of sorts, just by posting something, twittering something, or what have you.
And I think that's one of the things that these social engineers, whoever those top one, the people that we don't know about who are controlling everything, that is kind of what they didn't count on that. They didn't count on the fact that everybody, if something happens in Syria that's suspect, that it's going to go on the internet and be posted, and they can't get away with it anymore. Before, the turnaround time, back when, let's take the Gulf of Tonkin incident, all right? How long did that take before the public was at the turnaround time on the news cycle before anybody even knew? And, I think that all these people, these, whoever they are that are causing all these conflicts around the world, whether they're proxy wars or regime change wars, whatever these situations are, they were able to get away with a lot more back, 20, 30, 40 years ago, whereas now they can't really get away with much. So what I feel like they're doing is, since they can't, social media is instant. I think that there's a lot of opposition out there that are, that's why you have so many twists, because the general public, I mean, most of us are not going to go through what it takes to figure out what the truth is. We'll see a post on social media, whatever. We kind of take that, or we just disengage altogether because it's too much work to try to figure it out. And so yet they found another way to keep us confused and not even tuned in.
Yeah. No, that's very true. And, but it's changed in other ways as well. I had a virtual talk with one of the editors at the Plain Dealer, which is Cleveland's newspaper. And, today they allow, they wrap the front page with ads and all kinds of stuff. And on the back of that same section is the op-ed page, which never would have happened 30, 40 years ago. They allow ads on the op-ed page within the paper, and the TV stations allow, the local stations anyway, allow, political spots within the newscast, where before that would never happen because they wanted to separate politics from, any kind of that advertising during the newscast. And, you could buy a spot before the news or after the news, but not within it if you were running for office. So all that has changed, and and it's pretty sad.
No, it feels like, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't the which family is the one that controls the media? Like they own the Associated Press, they own the parent company that owns the Associated Press. Were those the Thebilderbergs?
Oh my gosh, I don't know. It's changed so much. So the other evolution that occurred was that before, the media was locally owned and felt compelled to represent people in the community and life in the community until it became, until the larger conglomerates realized that, like the big box stores, the media was the same way, that if they could scoop them all up and start doing certain things, there was a ton of money to be made in the news media because of the perceived credibility of the media. And and of course what's happened today is you see a split in the media, the far right, the far left, the in between, and what have you, so that there's criticism about the far right, the far left, and even the middle part of the media, unlike what it used to be in the past.
Yeah, everything is changing, and it's going to, I think it's going to change for the better, but we just kind of have to, we're in an age of information right now, and I believe we're in a second age of enlightenment because a lot of things come into light, around the world, and how different countries are dealing with things, and how oil and big, lobbyists and big corporate, pharmaceutical, this and that, how they really are the ones that are controlling everything.
Yeah.
And it's,
I hope so.
well, yeah, they're taking us down a road, and they have been for a long time. And everybody's just kind of been, okay. And in my opinion, it's like, well, how many times are we going to fall for the same thing? Is it that we just don't care, or that, by the time it really takes effect or anything, I'll be long gone. But your kids are still here. Wouldn't you at least want to, change things for their future?
Oh yeah. I think hopefully that'll happen sooner than later. My frustration is that it's not happening quick enough. And that's where I think that's where the issue, in large part relies, because there are some groups right now, including a nonprofit group, that is going after some of these larger organizations and trying to hold their feet to the fire. And one of them is a group called Some of Us. I don't know if you've heard of them, but they are going after corporate abuses and what they call the growing power of big tech, and trying to hold their feet to the fire and make them accountable. But I'm not sure how fast the majority of people will respond or react to that. It may take a while.
I think some of the problem is that the game that's being played is changing all the time on their end. So, I mean, when we figure out that, we need to be playing chess, they go back to playing checkers. And when we go, we got to go play checkers because we need to play the same game they change the game up. So it's really, it's so frustrating. You're in Honolulu, and who is Tulsi Gabbard over there? Is she the governor or is she the congresswoman?
She was she's a congresswoman. I'm not there now. I was born and raised there, and I worked there, but I'm living outside Cleveland now.
Have you listened to anything that she's been talking about or followed her at all?
Yeah, I still get one of their. I'm still in touch with some of the media people there, and get media reports as well. And have been following some of the activities that have been going on.
Yeah, some of the stuff she's talking about is really I've been listening to. And if you really want to hear a good interview with her, check out the one she did with Joe Rogan. I don't know what episode it is, but I mean, she did about a 3-hour deal where she was calling out the military-industrial complex and all these regime change wars and how this is a real thing. It's not. I mean, we were warned by this. By who? Who did that speech? Roosevelt, or was it Truman that talked about the military-industrial complex and that we need to beware? You remember that?
I don't know.
Okay, so
I don't.
Yeah, it was an outgoing president. I can't remember who it was, but they literally warned about the power that the military-industrial complex is starting to wield, and that the public, the American people, need to be careful because this it's only going to get bigger, and we're going to have less control of it. We already don't have any control. I mean, how much money do they get, annually through taxes for the year? I mean, I just paid what I owed $10,000, but I mean, the tax that I paid on the money I made was up to like $16,000. So you got $16,000 from me. Where's all this money going? I mean, if it was a business or I hired you to do something for me, and you have no accountability for any of the money that I've been giving you or the services that I'm supposed to be getting back, wouldn't you fire that entity or that company?
Yeah.
Why can't we? Why can't we do that? Why can't we get rid of this? How come we have no control over something that we're paying for? It doesn't make any sense to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, I don't know. It's very scary times.
Well, they're scary in that way, but they're also good times in the way that a lot of this stuff is coming to light. People are now starting to talk about this. You and I are talking about this. We're complete strangers, but yet we share in some of the same ideas and some of the same fears and some of the same, acknowledging what's going on. And there are over 700,000 other podcasts out there doing the same thing. So if 700,000, podcasts and you got people talking to people, I mean, we're talking close to probably 2 million or 3 million people out there having conversations like this or other conversations to better yourself. So I'm pretty hopeful for the future.
Well, I would like to be as optimistic. I'm holding my breath right now.
Yeah, I understand that as well. I mean, we just the government got way too big. Things need to change. They need to get rid of the lobbyists. They need to put term limits on some of these congressmen, or on all the congressmen, or even all those positions, because that's how they figure out. That's how they figure out how to work the system, because they've been in it for so long.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, most of them leave office. Many of them enter office, in the middle income category, but most of them leave in the upper income level. So that's got to say something.
Yeah, well, look at our dear old friend in California, Nancy Pelosi. She's got a mansion in San Francisco, the most expensive city, or one of the most expensive cities in the United States, and she has a mansion. How'd you get that? How'd you get that?
Yeah. No, that's very true. I think the term limit thing is way beyond its time and way overdue. But whether that occurs, I'm not sure, since too many people have vested interest in that, in not having term limits.
Well, yeah, none of them want it. Mitch McConnell, he for sure doesn't want it. He vehemently said, I think I heard him in something, it'll be a cold day in hell before any of that takes place here. They're scared. They're scared. They're scared of anybody. I don't know if Trump is a part of all that. All I know about as far as Trump is that last year, before he made that tax change, I got $2,000 back. I didn't do anything different this year, and I owed $10,000. So I mean, we were duped. I mean, that was a rope-a-dope for sure. You know what I mean? And if I hadn't been one of those people that saved my money, I would be probably homeless now, like one of these other people that had a serious financial burden put on them, and it wiped them out, and now they're homeless. Or you know what I mean? And I think that they do that on purpose, just like they did with the 2008 recession, the financial collapse, the crisis. That was a purposeful fleecing of the lower class, the blacks and the minorities, of their wealth. And they did that shit on purpose. And none of them paid for it. They got bonuses for it. You know what I mean? That's crazy. How does that happen?
No, I can appreciate that. I've met a lot of people. I've had the fortune of meeting and getting to know a lot of people, important people, and some who thought they were important in my life. And it's been amazing to note the differences in character and integrity among them. And it's also pretty sad. But I hope for change sooner than later, but I'm not as optimistic, unfortunately. I guess that's the former news person, cynic as I am, feeling that way.
Well, you have a lot more experience than I do. I mean, you're probably, been around quite a lot longer than I am. I'm kind of in the beginning stages of my coming of age, I guess you would say. I feel the need to have to expose some of this stuff, or at least talk about it, get the conversation going. I mean, because it's real, and you can't just ignore it. You keep ignoring it. Oh well, it doesn't affect me. It doesn't, it doesn't affect you now, but just wait until some other person gets in office and it does affect you, because that's what ends up happening. Yeah. I don't know if
that's very true.
Yeah, I don't know if he's for real or what. I mean, I know he's doing some good stuff, and I know that the deep state is definitely trying to get rid of him and get him out of there, because he doesn't play ball like they want him to. And I don't think that he really agrees with these regime change wars, but then, who knows? We're ramping up down in Iran, down in the Gulf. What's happening there? They already tried to do a false flag with the with saying that they attacked those those ships down there. And some people are just kind of raising their eyebrows, going, "This looks a lot familiar. This looks pretty familiar." Same playbook. They never change it. They think everybody's stupid.
Yeah. No, I can appreciate that. I happened to meet him in 20 years ago, and his demeanor hasn't changed at all. Just as his language publicly, where 20 years ago, every other word that came out of his mouth was a four-letter word, and today it's more tempered, although that's about all you can say about it.
Well, he just found nicer words to say the stuff that he wants to say. He's still attacking everybody.
I guess you could say that.
He still attacks everybody. I mean, that's his MO, man. I mean, if he wants to, he's just going to discredit you with attacks right out of the gate. And most people are just are so politically correct that they don't have a response immediately. They're like, they can't believe that just came out of your mouth.
Mm-hmm.
So that he catches everybody off guard. And I mean, yeah, I guess. I mean, if he actually drained the swamp, that would be cool. But I mean, I've seen no draining. I don't hear any draining. I don't see the whirlpool in the middle of the water. So I think we got duped again.
Yeah. But unfortunately, a lot of people drank the Kool-Aid and they're still drinking it. So that's why I'm still a bit cynical. Yeah,
well, a lot of them just don't. They don't want interruption in their life. They've got things good. They're comfortable. They're on a routine. They're doing this. They're doing that. You know what I mean? It's not really affecting them. So it's just easier to turn away and tune out than it is to get yourself wrapped up in the turmoil of it. Because, I mean, when you really start breaking it down and looking at it, it starts to become overwhelming because it's so much bigger than you.
Mm-hmm.
And most people aren't equipped to think on those terms. That's why these social engineers are so far ahead of us, because the game that they're playing is a 100-year game. You know what I mean? We've got a 100-year plan, and most people can't think that far out. You know what I mean? We're thinking maybe 5 years, 10-year goal at the most, because that's what we were told to as kids. You need to plan in the 5 and the 10 year. Nobody's thinking 20, 30, 40, 50. And these guys are already they've rolled out plans that have been in place to when they pass on, it just keeps going. Their children take over and propagate it. And these are all guesses. You know what I mean? I'm not any kind of expert on anything other than myself and the patterns that I see that come up, in different things. And I listen to a lot of people that I feel are credible, and through podcasts or other independent investigative journalists like yourself. And so, but I mean, I don't know. I just know how it feels.
Yeah, well, I applaud you for what you're doing, because, the people still need to know. And if you can cut through the chatter and everything else and get to the meat of it, that would be the best thing that could happen.
Yeah, hopefully there's an easier way to do it. But, like I said, some of those older folks, as they die off and they move on, that are running things, we've got a new generation of smarter kids that know a lot more. I mean, they already know that to think that stuff is fake. You know what I mean? They already know to question everything. And so I think that's where we're going to win. I may not see it in my lifetime. You may not see it in your lifetime. But that's where my hope lies, is that these kids that are coming up, the newer generation, that's younger than the millennials, they're slick. They're doing stuff, and hopefully it changes with them.
Mm-hmm. No, that's very true. In fact, collectively, if you add up all the different minorities, which and include multi-race marriages, include the LGBTQ community and the like, collectively, all of these publics already make up more than 50% of the population. The unfortunate part is nobody's ever tried to pull them together to say, hey, if we work together, we can affect a lot more change more quickly. And so it's still very splintered, and it won't be another, if I recall correctly, 20 or 30 more years until the racial minority, anyway, becomes collectively the majority. So even at that, that it's still quite a ways off, one generation at least. But there's a lot of potential for change coming down the road because, as you pointed out, the younger generation, especially the Z generation, is a lot more acute and sharp and aware of what's true and what's not true as far as what they're hearing and being told. And I think we'll see that change occur, but I'm not sure that it's going to happen in my lifetime.
Yeah, I'll probably be around for the beginning of it, which is better than not being around for any of it.
Yeah.
At least maybe I'll see some fruits of the labor that I'm doing, and that would be rewarding enough for myself. And the fact that my daughter doesn't have to deal with, being lied to constantly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's nothing worse than being fooled. Especially when you're part of the population that's doing everything you're supposed to be doing or were taught to do, and then you realize that this is all fake.
Mm-hmm.
This is all a construct.
Yeah.
So.
No, that's very true.
We're at about 30 minutes there, Scott. Would you like to give any plugs for your social media or any ways that people can follow you or get in touch with you if any of this resonates with them and they'd like to talk about it more?
No, not at this point. I just wanted to applaud you for what you're doing and encourage you to keep it up and, stay with it and keep going, seeking the truth. And I think if you stay on that road, I think, eventually over time, hopefully it'll all come out.
Well, I appreciate it. And thank you for the feedback. It's always nice to get some feedback and hear from people that agree with what you're doing and resonate with it. So I appreciate the feedback for sure.
Oh, it's my pleasure, Sean. Keep up the great work.
All right. Thanks, Scott. Have a good one.
Okay. You too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the show, and thank you to Scott. Appreciate the kind words there at the end and throughout. It's always nice to get feedback from people that listen to the show and, support what I'm doing and my vision and what I'm trying to put out there. As always, if you get something out of this show or this episode, tell a friend, subscribe, rate, review, all those things. But most of all, word of mouth advertising or word of mouth definitely spreads faster than any of the social media promotions that I'm doing. So if you think somebody will benefit from hearing this show or one of my episodes, feel free to shoot them my way and turn them into a listener. If you want to contact me, you can send me an email at nowheretogobutupnow@gmail.com. You have topic ideas, show ideas. You just want to tell me you don't like me. You want to say whatever you want to say to me, man. You can hit me up on the email. I'm also on Instagram at nowheretogobutupnow. Facebook is Sean Dustin. I have a Facebook group, which is called Nowhere to Go But Up Now Podcast. There's about 50 members in there now. If you would like, you can join that. And I also do ask questions, polls, ask for topic ideas, and I just basically engage in there with the members. So if that's something that interests you, you can also go there. I'm on YouTube. Nowhere to Go But Up Now is my YouTube channel. My podcast page is nowhere to go but up now.libsyn.com. You can also leave comments on each episode there. I'm on Twitter at But Up Now. I think that pretty much covers the social media. I know that I'm doing a Kickstarter campaign to try and raise some money to do a website and also upgrade some of the equipment that I have so I can start doing video as well to add to the YouTube channel instead of just being audio only. Also, the last interview I did was with the Uncontained podcast hosted by Aaron Static Render. Check it out. That was a good interview. I've got some other ones that are going to be coming up in the following weeks, but this one I personally enjoyed. How Aaron edited this one, and it was a good show. So check it out and go over and support the Uncontained podcast and give him a listen. He's doing some good stuff in the entertainment industry and trying to let us know the different things that are happening with the people he's interviewing. So again, thank you, Aaron. Appreciate the interview. So until next week. Oh, here's one more thing. I have a correction to make on one of the things that I had in this episode with Scott. So the address that I was referring to, and I said Roosevelt, it was actually Eisenhower's farewell address warning against the military-industrial complex. And you can see that on YouTube. I'll drop a link down in my in the show notes so you guys can listen to that. That was a very compelling and a very moving farewell address. So a lot of people don't know about it and haven't heard it. So give it a listen. It might change the way you think about a couple things. Until next week, man. Keep it 100. Stay true to yourself. Everything else is just noise.